Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We have another show, Harnessing Your Wealth. I'm Billy Peterson, your host. Joining me today, again, a regular, Cade, is on the show. And we have a great guest talking about horse racing industry and some of the interesting stories that he has to share. Many of you are going to hear and recognize his name, Todd Fincher, who just won the world's biggest horse race. I'm glad to have him on. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks, Billy. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's fun to kind of reminisce about some of the stories that we shared, you and I, back in the day. For many of you, those of you who don't know, Todd was a jockey before he became a world famous trainer. And most people would look at Todd or even look at me and say, there's no way you rode horses. Todd's like 6 foot tall, right?
Yeah, 6 foot 6'1". Yeah.
Yep. And I'm 5'6", which is considered kind of on the upper band for a jockey. But obviously, the most important thing is the weight. The height has not a whole lot to do with it. It's just obviously when you're taller, you're going to have a larger frame and more weight to pack around. But Todd and I both went through the ordeals and the battles of keeping our weight down and had all kinds of experiences with what we do in order to do that and get those weight assignments or mounts that we wanted to ride. Both of us rode both breeds, so quarter horses and thoroughbreds. And Todd is, I would say, mostly known today for his accomplishments with the thoroughbreds in training. And, just interesting stuff and how he got into the business with his mom and dad both training, and he and his brother Rhett doing a lot of the stall hand work and working with horses, cleaning stalls, I'm sure, doing the feeding, all that stuff from the ground up, kind of running around the track as a little kid. Gave you a lot of background into the industry. And today, that's how you grew up. So you're a hands-on trainer. A lot of these other guys out there in the world, they kind of more of a textbook trainer. So tell us about your experience growing up, becoming a jockey, how hard it was for you to continue to battle that weight.
Yeah, I mean, I was born into the business. We were racetrack kids. We were at the barn working as young as 8, 9 years old. We had full summertime jobs at the track doing small things. And as the years went on, we did more and more things until we got old enough to start getting on horses, which every kid that grows up on the racetrack wants to be a jockey. And boys, girls, it didn't matter. That's 9 out of 10 of the kids grew up wanting to be jockeys. So that was my dream. And I worked at the barn, lived with the horses. I mean, I did a lot of hanging out at the barn, hanging out with the horses, and kind of like that lady that lived with the gorillas. You learn to speak their language, you learn to understand them, and they understand you, type of thing. And I lived with them, and so through the years, we did different jobs from anywhere from just doing water buckets and hay bags to actually being grooms and then exercise riders. And then eventually, when you turn 16, that's the first thing you want to do is get your jockey's license. And unfortunately for me, like in ninth grade, I was 5'1", and by 11th grade, I was 5'11". So I thought my time had passed, but I figured I'd ride 1 year when I was 16 in the summer between my junior and senior year. But then once I went back to school, I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought about doing a lot of different things, like joining the police academy or joining the armed forces, or I wanted to do something that had some type of career. But I just kept getting pulled back to, well, maybe I can ride for a couple of years. And I just sucked it up and starved myself so I could be a jockey.
You had some, you're famous for the peanut M&Ms. So I remember watching you back in the jocks room. So, those of you who don't know, the biggest thing you do, you walk in the jocks room, you got to be check-in an hour before the first post, report your weight to the clerk of scales, and then you're going to get on the scale for every race, before your race and then after the race. And then if you end up somehow getting overweight throughout the day, they're supposed to announce that overweight or even fine you. Sometimes clerk of scale, the clerk is nicer than others if you're good friends with him. I remember Red Heedman, I would buy him a case of beer every so often, and he was pretty good to me. Or a roll of Copenhagen. But you had your peanut M&Ms, and I remember that was a staple for you. Is that all you ate during the day?
During the week, that's, I see people now, and they'll grab peanut M&Ms, grab five and throw them in their mouth and chew them down. It would take me 30 minutes to eat five peanut M&Ms. I mean,
Wow.
I just savored the flavor, and just you're playing mind games with your head and your stomach, and just trying to eat something.
Mm.
But I wouldn't eat much. I'd go out to dinner with people who want to go to dinner, and I wouldn't eat. I'd maybe eat some chips and salsa or something like that, but I wouldn't eat a meal, and just enough to keep. Basically, you're playing a mind game with your head and your stomach. So,
Hmm.
but if you couldn't do the weight, you didn't have a job. So
Yeah.
it was really it was no brainer. You had to do the weight.
You had to suffer it. Now, some of the riders, and you and I both can probably recollect some of them in our own mind, but we saw the guys that didn't do it that way. Matter of fact, they'd eat a lot, but then they just run into the bathroom, the toilet, the flipping bowl, we'd call it, and just purge it. I mean, some of these guys got so damn good at it, they could just do it on demand. They don't even have to gag themselves.
Yeah, I
Crazy.
mean, and I was really unbelievably, I was naive to that when I first started riding, and but yeah, it's unbelievable what people would do to keep their weight down. I mean, they had to go eat two or three cheeseburgers and then drink two or three Cokes, and then they go in there and throw it up and go out and ride the next race. And I
I
was
remember.
I was kind of jealous of some of those because I was at towards the last 3 or 4 years of my career, I was so hungry, and I can't explain the pain. It is physical pain of being hungry. That I wished I could do that. I
Mm,
thought maybe I could get some relief, but I was afraid if I did that, I wouldn't be able to throw it up, and then I'd
mm,
be out of a job. So, but in the last 3 or 4 years, it really it was just steady pain.
mhm. Very, very challenging and hard to keep that weight down because every day it's like a trauma. You're waking up and thinking, how much do I weigh today? Did I gain a pound overnight or 2 pounds? I remember watching J.R. Valenzuela go into the sauna, and of course, he was always in the steam room trying to pull weight. But he'd take a 2 liter of Coke in the steam room with him. And be drinking that. Just, I don't know why. I guess he was just going through the motions and figured, hey, the clerk will be nice to me if I look like I'm trying here.
Yeah, but he probably took a Lasix pill too at the same time. So yeah, lot of those
Yeah.
guys. I could go in the steam room for an hour and I'd be lucky to lose half a pound. Just because I basically did the work all week, starving. And these other guys, they're eating burritos and going out drinking beer and partying. They got a lot of weight that they can pull off. I know it's not healthy, but that was the life they chose, and
Hmm.
I really didn't feel like I could do that and be able to pull the weight. And so I just did the work during the week and didn't eat hardly anything.
Did you ever nearly pass out? I had a couple of experiences where I'd see stars trying to pull a horse up after trying, pulling weight or something like that. Did you ever have an experience like that?
Never on a horse. I think the adrenaline got us a long ways down the road, but I can't tell you how many times I'd be sitting in the jocks room on the couch watching a race and then stand up to go get your stuff. And then as soon as you stand up, you about fall over. You have to stand there and you see stars. You stand there for about 6, 7 seconds to get your bearings back. And then
Mm.
that's happened many times, but never on a horse. I don't know. I imagine it's adrenaline carrying us through, but yeah, just sitting down and standing up, I can't tell you how many times that I saw stars.
Yeah. Well, luckily that part of our life is behind us, and I know you take eating seriously as well as I do. Now that we get to do it without any reservation, so very good background. With the transition, and I never did this. Of course, when I quit riding, I went into the financial services industry, which is polar opposite. No one would ever put those two things together. But I had my interests. I wanted to pursue something in investing and in financial services and helping people invest and do all those things I do today. But with you, it's kind of staying in the industry, even though it's not an easy switch, right? It's like starting all over again, proving yourself as a horseman. How hard was that for you?
Well, you did yourself well. You put yourself through college and you had a plan. Uh, I was well aware that my career was going to be short as a jockey. I made it 10 years, which is kind of astonishing, but I knew all along my career was going to be short, but I didn't have a backup plan. I saved whatever I made, but I did not have a backup plan. So obviously being in the horse business, that's basically all I knew. I didn't educate educate myself any further than the racetrack and basic life lessons. But it was inevitable that I needed to stay in the business. And obviously, growing up with both my parents as trainers at some point, I've been around it and grew up in it. And I obviously thought I knew 99% of what I was supposed to know as a trainer, which I know a lot for sure, but it was very surprising how much I didn't know. And but starting out, it's very tough. Nobody's there. The old saying is jockeys don't make good trainers. Because they're two completely different jobs. I mean,
Mm.
they're not even close to the same. So, it was hard. I started with probably 8 horses. The most expensive horse in my barn was a $5,000 claimer,
Wow.
and I did most of the work. I did all the galloping and a lot of the work around the barn, and I had some connections, that eventually saw me training, and they liked me as our relationship was before. And then you get a horse here and you get a horse there from somebody, and over the years, it's grown. It's just, I've obviously gotten better because at first I thought I knew it all, and I was just shocked to how much I didn't know and how subtle of the one decision can have a huge impact on a horse. You
Mm.
think a little decision is no big deal, and it can have a huge negative or positive effect. So I obviously made lots of mistakes early and through the years, and now I've done it so long that most decisions you're just reactions. I mean, it's just obvious. The answer is obvious.
Right.
I've just seen so much, and sometimes you'll come with a tough decision, but almost every time the decision just clears a bell anymore. And when I was younger and just starting out, I'd think, it'll be all right. I can do that. And then something happens and the horse gets hurt, or something backfires, and you learn from it. You learn from making mistakes, and we've done plenty of mistakes and we've learned from them. And obviously now it's a lot easier, to be honest.
Mm. Yeah, the road to success is obviously long, and sometimes you have to overcome all the adversity, the setbacks. But if you keep going, and then of course if you believe in yourself, and I mean that's a big part of success. And I think that's a big part of the success I've had in the industry I've been in. We have similar stories, you and I, with starting out, trying to get people to trust you, believe in you. I remember just pounding away at the phone, trying to talk to people and get them to listen and get them to give me a chance. And 80% or more was rejection, and try to come back the next day, and just working long hours. And I think just separates a lot of people that actually get over that wall with the ones that don't, the ones that just keep climbing and trying even if they fall. So you've done an amazing job as a trainer, leading trainer. I don't know how many times you keep track of all those statistics around
No,
New
but
Mexico.
no, wins are great, but we're in a position now where we look for the big races. We want to win the big races. Obviously, every horse we get in don't turn out to be stake horses, but that's our goal. The quantity is not really what we're looking for. We like horses in all different categories, but we've gotten to the point where we have good clients that want to win the bigger races, and that's what they try to put in my barn, and that's what we try to develop. But obviously, probably 70% of those are not going to turn out to be stake horses. It might be nice horses, but we like to compete at the top. That's winning races. Any race is great, but we like to win the bigger races. So it's most places I go. Yeah, we take home the most money of any trainer, usually by a large margin, but not always are we the leading trainer by wins, but sometimes we are and sometimes we're not.
Well, you've won a lot of big races, and of course, you once you've been to the top of the mountain, I mean, that sets the bar. So you don't want to just fall back. You want to keep striving for something like that, or repeating it, or even further. And I think, here recently, I mean, you've hit the absolute pinnacle where most trainers never experience. And I'm going to get into that in just a few more minutes. But what's your philosophy as a trainer, and what do you do different than a lot of guys that makes you successful in your barn?
I think some trainers are not as diligent as they probably should be. They've done it so long. They don't like to answer the phone. They probably skip steps, and you got to be consistent. It's an everyday deal, and you got to be consistent. And we've developed babies since I started training. That's been my biggest thing, is starting out with babies and developing them. So we've got that. Nothing's 100% rate, but we've got that down pretty good, where we know exactly each step to take, and we take them, and we don't skip steps. We don't, we've done it long enough. Our formula is pretty dang good. It's we can get horses ready early in the year, and we can keep horses running as 6, 7 years old. That Senior Buscador just won the richest race in the world. He's 6 years old, so that's a big goal, to try to keep a horse together and have a good horse around for a long time.
Is keeping a horse happy a big part of their success?
I think that's one of the biggest things. Somebody was talking that, I can't remember. Oh, it was a bloodstock guy in Kentucky that good friends with one of my clients. And I heard him telling him, man, you walk into your barn, that's unbelievable. All your horses' heads are out. You can tell how happy they are. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it. You got to have a good atmosphere. You got to have people that work for you that treat them right. They're not beating them around and treating them like dumb animals. They actually care for them, and their personalities come out. And absolutely, if a horse is happy, they're going to give you a good effort. And if they're not, if they're not happy, you don't know what they're capable of doing or how much they're going to give you. So That's a big part of it for sure.
Right. And I know firsthand, I've had horses with you for a number of years, quite a few years, long time. And I will say that, that there's a pretty big difference in your response versus other trainers that I've used. And you're always picking up the phone, texting back, sending videos. I mean, I think that's a big part for owners, because of course owners don't have to do this. They want to do this for fun, for enjoyment. And when you're trying to help them have fun and communicating with them, even when it's bad news, obviously it's not always good news.
No.
But that's probably a big challenge, for a trainer too, is when you have to deliver bad news. Sometimes that's part of our business too.
Yeah, bad news, that's the worst part of my business, actually. You don't want to even, it doesn't matter how good the horse is or how talented or how untalented, you don't want to give bad news. And things happen. I mean, like I said, we've got a program where we develop these horses, and we have eliminated so much of the risk that other people do not. And just by the experience and the people that work for me and the way we do things, but you're not eliminating 100% of the risks. Anything can happen at any time. So having to deliver that news is not fun. It's the worst part of my job.
I can imagine. Let's talk a little bit about Senior Buscador, but I want to take a trip back in time. You started training for the Peacock family, right? Joe
Yes.
Senior, and he had a little mare. I mean, I'm going back before. What was the mare's name? Rose's Desert?
Rose's Desert, yes.
Before her, you trained her mother too, didn't you?
No, that's the first horse I had for the Peacocks is Rose's Desert.
Okay.
And I got her as a yearling, and we broke her. And actually, the very first time I worked her, she banana shin bucked on both fronts. She worked fast. She worked really scared, and she worked too fast, and she banana shin bucked. So we kicked her out and brought her back later. She didn't run till like December of her 2-year-old year. And basically all her foals, besides the very first one, all her foals have been very late developing.
So she had, for those of you who don't know this, Rose's Desert, New Mexico bred, right, Todd?
Yeah. Yeah. She's
And
a New Mexico bred.
yeah, and she won, what did she win? 10, 12 races? That was a lot.
10 wins and 5 seconds and 15 starts.
Wow. So she's never worse than second, 15 out. Uh, Obviously made a good chunk of money for those owners
600 and something thousand. Yeah. They're running in New Mexico. Yeah.
in New Mexico. And then maybe even more impressively, like every foal she's had has been pretty dang fast. And then
Yeah.
this, go ahead, tell us
Yeah.
about those.
Her first four foals are all stakes winners that's been on the track. Couple of them graded stakes winners, which obviously Senior Buscador is he's obviously the best of all of them. He's up to 12 point something million, but every single one, 4 for 4 stakes winners. And her fifth baby, she got to run one time, another late developing horse, and she won her only start, and then she got sore shin. So they're just they're just later developing horses. So she's back in training now. So she's had 5 to the track, 5 winners, and 4 stakes winners and a couple graded stakes winners. And then obviously Senior Buscador has just been a horse of a lifetime.
Amazing, the story on him. So he obviously they shipped the mare to Kentucky. Is that where she resides now full time?
Yeah, they being a great New Mexico bred doesn't usually translate into a good enough mare to go to Kentucky and run with the best bred horses in the world. But man, has she been awesome, and they've bred to some pretty higher profile horses, Go Sappers, 60,000 and had a couple of them. But Mineshaft, who is the father of the sire of Buscador, was a $10,000 stud fee, which is basically nothing in Kentucky. It's never been bred to the premier studs that stand for 150, 200, 250,000. Until this year, she had End of Mischief filly.
Oh, wow.
end of April. So that's pretty cool. She did have a Curlin. Her second baby is a Curlin named Sheriff Brown, and he made 600,000. And he's probably the least talented of the first 4. So
wow,
not bad.
So the other colt that she had, what was his name? Desert Ghost or
the Runaway Ghost?
Runaway Ghost.
He was the first one. He won the Sunland Derby and was actually in the Kentucky Derby, but he had an injury that kept him out.
Right. I remember you guys were ready to go, and then it was just kind of heartbreaking at that point, last minute. But now he's standing as a stallion himself in New Mexico. And what a mare. I mean, that's just like you said, once in a lifetime kind of situation with what she's done for that family. Now tell us about Senior Buscador, because you knew early on he was kind of special, but when did you know he was really special?
Well, early on when we break them and start gate breaking and stuff, I'm talking February and March, starting working from the gates. He was just a horse. I mean, he worked okay. And then, I just told the owner, I says, he's not ready. So we kicked him out probably 65, 75 days. And I brought him back, and he grew up, and then he went to working really good in the fall, completely different horse. We took him to Zia Park, and that's when the pandemic hit. And I was working them there, ready to run. They couldn't fill any kind of good races over there. So the last couple times I worked him, I said, this horse is nice. So I know he wanted to run long, but so we couldn't get any race to go. So I looked at the condition book at Remington, and all they had was a 5.5. But I said, you know what? I got to run him. He's been ready to run for 7-8 weeks. So I hauled him over there going 5.5, which, he runs 1.25 miles and comes from last. So running 5.5 was a big ask. And we knew he could run, but we really wasn't expecting to win that day, because there's a couple nice horses and also being 5.5 and hauling across, but he was so happy. He thought it was playtime. He was biting all over the pony and just playing, wasn't focused at all. screwing around and not screwing around the gates, and his night racing, and he was looking around. He wasn't paying attention. The gates open. He broke terrible. And it took him about 4 or 5 jumps to figure out that there was a race going on, and he trailed the field back there. And by the time they hit the turn, he turned on the burners, and he ended up winning by 2 or 3 lengths that day on a really fast time for Remington Park.
Wow.
And just ran by him. And that was pretty special, just knowing what he went through. And then they had the springboard mile, which carries some points for the Kentucky Derby. Not very many, but it was a Derby prep at Remington. So I took him back home to Zia Park and messed with him. And then I shipped him back to Remington. And I was going to work in there at Remington over the track. And for 5 days, I tried to find any horse to work with. I didn't care what distance, and nobody had a horse to work with. And he's not a great workhorse by himself. And he's going to have to go from a 5.5 furlong race to a mile race in December. So there's going to be a lot of good horses and good trainers bringing good horses that are seasoned. And so I really needed a good work, and I couldn't find anybody. And I told that rider, to start letting him work at the 6.5 furlongs in the middle of the turn, just galloping really fast and start working. Well, he worked around there really slow, and he got to the 3/8 pole, and he picked it up a little bit and was working okay, like a normal work, nothing special. But he turned down the lane and they had a quarter horse working, come running up behind him and run up to his neck, and Buscador took off about the 150-yard mark. And that quarter horse never passed him, but he worked from that point to the 6 furlongs pole as fast as you've ever seen any horse work. And then, so right then I said, that was a special work. I was really impressed. And then obviously in the springboard mile, Steve Asmussen, Brad Cox, and biggest trainers had horses in there. And he walked out of the gate, got way behind, and he ran by him so fast when they turned for home, it wasn't funny. He won by 6 or 7 lengths. And right then we knew, he went to the top of the charts in the Kentucky Derby. He was some people's choice, second choice, third choice for the Kentucky Derby futures at that point.
Mm. And then you didn't make it to the Derby with him, did you? He got hurt?
Yeah, we took him to New Orleans and run him in the fairgrounds, and he ran okay. Actually, after the springboard mile, had a little chip in the ankle. And the vet there said, it's in a good spot. Don't even worry about it. And then I shipped him to Houston. That's where we trained him. The vet said the same thing. Don't worry about it. It's in a good spot. It's no problem. And they never really trained great. We took him to the fairground. Then he ran all right. He had a terrible trip, and he ran okay. I think he ran 5th. He ran okay, and he come back with a little bit of a suspensory on him. So, I didn't want to mess with that. You could have done some things to get him through the pain and all that. And we didn't want to mess with that because that's long-term damage there. So we took him to Dr. Hayes, and I said, he recommended a small surgery on him and 6 months off. And I said, you know what, Doc? I said, it's got a chip in that other ankle. I said, might as well take it out. He's going to be off anyway. Because I saw that. That's nothing. I don't think. I said, you know what? It just make me feel better if you did it, because he's going to be off anyway. Well, to come to find out, the chip in the ankle was, once they got in there, they noticed it was really causing some pain. And he told me, it's a good thing you told me to take that out. So then we give him plenty of time off. He's coming back great. We got him almost ready to run. The horse is doing it. Just working lights out. And I show up one morning, like in November, and he's standing in the stall holding his back leg, and his back leg's swollen. There's not any marks like he got down in the stall. There was a storm that came through there that day, and I think it freaked him out, and he was banging off the walls or something. But he ended up with a really, really bad hawk infection. And that, he come really close to dying from that. Dang. And then it got close to the size of a volleyball on his hawk, and he could barely walk on it even after the surgeries. And we took him to the clinic and did all kinds of stuff. And the vet worked on him, daily shock waving and doing some other treatments on it. And it was a very long process to get that hawk where he was traveling good on it. It was still big, but once it got where the vet said, I can't do anything more for him. We put him into light training, very light, where he's exercising it. and kept doing what we could for him, and just slowly and eventually it started getting better and better, and then we had him doing really good. I mean, this horse has had so much shit happen to him you can't believe. We got him doing pretty good, but then he started refusing to go on the track. He would fight and
Wow.
not want to start off, and he'd never done that before. But once you get him going, everything was fine. And we never noticed this before, but he only had one testicle down. And I told the vet, I can't tell you that's what's hurting him because he don't act like it hurts him. But I think we're at the point where if we're going to do something, we need to do it now. So we decided to go and take the one that was up inside of him out. And he's never done that again. So obviously he was pinching him. This poor horse has had just the stupidest things happen to him. So that went really smooth, actually. And then we got him going. I had him about ready to run, and he's in Riados and a storm hits. Come the next morning, he's limping on that same back leg again.
Oh, no.
So we're thinking something really happened, but he did something to it, and unrelated to his hawk. But that kind of went away pretty quickly. That whatever that was. So I got him out of there and shipped him to Lone Star, and he's pretty much been running ever since. He ran in the Breeders' Cup and got really way too excited, and he bled the first Breeders' Cup he was in. So we gave him a little time off after that. But he's since then, he's traveled he's probably run at 13 or 14, he's run 19 times at like 13 or 14 different tracks.
Wow.
So
yeah, he's had some frequent flyer miles, that horse.
Yeah. He went from this year after the Breeders' Cup, he went from California to New York. He ran there, got on a bus, went to Florida, ran there, got on a plane, went to Saudi Arabia, ran there, got on a plane, went to Dubai. And then on his trip home, he had to fly to Brussels and then Chicago. And had to take a van ride to Indianapolis, then an airplane ride to California.
Oh,
and he got a few weeks off, and now he's back in training at San Luis Rey.
He's at San Luis Rey. So are you guys thinking of running him at Del Mar this year? Is that what his plan is next, or you going to Santa Anita somewhere?
He won't be ready for Santa Anita, but he should be ready for Del Mar. Hopefully we can have him ready for the San Diego Handicap. He won that last year, but it's horses that run overseas and come back have a bad record of returning and running well, but I don't really see that with him. I guess it could happen. You don't know it. It's not visible, I guess, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think just getting him back fit and tight again is going to be the challenge.
This is very interesting, and especially those who are listening, horse racing fans, are going to be extremely interested in this conversation because this horse, he's sitting as one of the all-time leading money earners. I mean, he's up there, right? I mean, what is he, 12? You say $12.5 million he's earned?
Yeah, I think he's in like 8th or 9th. I'd have to look it up, but he's up there. If he would have won the last race, he would have been number one in the world ever.
Wow. It's crazy. So we're talking from New Mexico heritage to winning the biggest race in the world. What was it like for you going over there? I mean, that had to be a different experience.
Well, I thought a lot about it, and running, just what we've been able to do with the small number of horses the last few years. We hit the board in 3 or 4 graded races in Del Mar last year, and which when you're a competitor, you don't really look at that. You're trying to win. But I think back years ago, I remember one trainer took a horse out there and it ran 5th in a big handicap, and we thought that was the greatest thing ever. Someone coming from New Mexico with a horse, and we're over there. We won a grade 2 and ran 2nd in grade 2 over there that year. And I wasn't really thinking that, but retrospectively, thinking, that we're really making some headway here, and coming from New Mexico, that just doesn't happen, But luckily I have some clients that are interested in the bigger stuff and go out there and buy better horses. Even though I don't have that many, I've been pretty lucky to get some pretty good ones. And like this year, I thought about it the other day. Running in a grade 1 coming from New Mexico was in a thoroughbred races, maybe once or twice in your lifetime would happen. But This year, we've run 5 grade 1s. We had a first, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds. So that's just remarkable. It's
All
just
right.
unbelievable. So hopefully we can keep the good horses coming and keep being able to compete like that.
Yeah,
Todd,
that's
you've got a
crazy.
lot of accolades. I mean, you've filled up your trophy case, winning the richest horse race in history. What's next? Like, what's keeping you going? You have a big race that you're looking for next?
Well, you're always looking for the next best horse, the next
Yeah.
superstar, and that's, talking about doing things behind the scenes. We get these horses in first of November and October, and we're starting with a clean slate, and it's months and months of doing work and getting a horse ready to run. And you have high expectations. You're hoping that super horse is in there somewhere, because you're not going to win those big races unless you have a talented horse. So we're that keeps you going. It's a new batch. It's the freshmen coming in. You're a college coach and you got these freshmen coming in, and you're hoping you got the superstar.
I'm curious
Kentucky
to hear.
Derby.
Go ahead there.
No, I
Is
was
that
gonna say, is
next?
that on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, it's the richest race in the world, was never on my radar. I never really, the Kentucky Derby, Kentucky Oaks is always what people talk about, or the Breeders' Cup, not the Saudi Arabia deal. But that was pretty awesome, especially with the purse that it carried. But yeah, my bigger clients that bring me two or three a year are in the fillies. They always buy the fillies and never buy colts. But every once in a while I get a colt or two, and this year I've got a colt that could be that good. I mean, it's possible. We'll see. They're young, but I got one I really like. So yeah, that's always that definitely the Kentucky Derby. That's what the race everybody wants to win. That and the Breeders' Cup Classic are probably the two races that are the most prestigious in the United States.
You've come across a lot of very famous horses in your day, and it's fun going out to the sales and everyone's pulling horses out and watching the way that they walk and looking at their body shape and everything. How much is that? How important is that versus what's inside?
That
What their heart.
what's inside is the most important, and that's what you can't see.
Mhm.
You want the body type that you're looking for and the athleticism, but it's what's inside that you can't see, and that's the most important part. And you the only way you can judge that, and then it's not 100% accuracy, is the breeding. That's why those horses cost the most to breed to, is because they have proven that they throw horses with big hearts. They don't throw 100% big hearted horses, but they throw a high number of horses that have talent and are race horses. So that's the part that's missing. That's the guessing part. Them guys can tell you how good they are at picking out horses, but they can't see what's under the hood.
I think that's why, a lot of people in the industry breed into Mischief, even though I guess he's the most expensive stud in the business still. But like, what is it, 200,000 or 250,000 or something to breed to him?
He's 250,000, and Gunrunner went right up the list, and Gunrunner's at 250,000 as well. And yeah, it's because they've proven, that their horses are race horses. They have hearts,
Mm-hmm.
and in the Mischiefs, I had two thoroughbreds, and they were just both unbelievably hard trying horses. And I've come across one here and there. They're older horses, and they're just race horses. They're
They're going to
obviously
give you
not
everything.
yeah, they're obviously not 100%, but for sure it has to be a high percent for a stallion to be that popular to get 250,000 a pop.
It's crazy, isn't it? Speaking of money and all the money that goes around in the thoroughbred business, and I grew up in the quarter horse world. That's all we did. Quarter horses, we used them for rodeo, and my family had quarter horses. So my big goal was to win the All American, and that's kind of the equivalent of the Kentucky Derby for the quarter horse people. That was always my goal. Just dreaming about that, watching the movie Casey Shadow dozens of times and just seeing how they did it and the fun, the enjoyment. And fortunately for me, that played out. That dream came true. But the money that's involved in thoroughbreds is on a different level. It's just different level than the quarter horse business. And I'm always fascinated by the number of owners and very, very wealthy. These sheiks have obviously billions of dollars. And that's got to be an experience in itself going over there to that huge track and watching all those sheiks come around with the money. What are you seeing in the industry here the last several years with regards to, the inflationary impact of the cost of just taking care of horses? And are people backing down, or are they still just, you know, setting up to the table and keep putting money in? Have you seen any impact yet?
Well, unfortunately, on my daily training rates, I'd like to charge $40 a day if I could, but just everything has gone ridiculous. 15 years ago, you can get a load of shavings for $400. Now it's 3,000, just stuff like that. Paying $28, $29 for alfalfa, for a bale alfalfa that used to be not very long ago was $14, $15. It's just, everything has gone way up, and obviously the gas, for transportation of everything, and it's ridiculous. And Gallop boys, when I started galloping, it was $4 a head. Now it's 15, and Reese, it was just 10 not very long ago, and everybody just went up 50% to 15, and it's just, the cost of everything, just like you said, just way up. So, but to be honest with you, I think I haven't seen a decline in people wanting out of the business. I think once you get in, and most people like it, and nowadays, as much as the inflation is, the purses around the world, around the country, have gotten really good. I mean, they got stupid good. If you go to Oaklawn, you're running a maiden for $120,000. I mean, I remember starting training in New Mexico. When I started training in New Mexico, I had a New Mexico bred, and the purse was $7,000. And I made the statement, they will never have a maiden race at $7,000 ever again. That was amazing money. That would never happen again. And now at Zia Park, it's $55,000. So, I mean, it's just the cost of training a horse isn't that great compared to what the purses are. Back when we were riding and when I first started training, you weren't going to come out on a horse. There's just no way you're going to profit.
I don't know how we made it. I mean, remember the maidens back then, $2,000, an allowance was $2,700, and the stakes race was big, $12,500. That was big.
That was a big one. They had a bunch of $8,000 stake races.
Yeah, exactly.
So you had no chance of coming out back then. And now you do. There's a lot of people in the day trading, that claim horses. You can claim a horse for $10,000 and 2 weeks later run them for $10,000, claim again with the $35,000 purse. It's financially, you can come out on the deal, where you can pay for your fun and your habit, and you could possibly make money. But back in those days, you had no chance of making money, none. It was all for the fun of it. And now, it can pay for itself. If you win a race here and there, and it can pay for itself very easily. I had a 2-year-old that ran from June was his first race and March was his last of his first career. He made $570,000 in New Mexico.
Yeah. It's dollars and cents. It's so much more financially, let's say, stable or smart than the quarter horse game, which is, paying all those payments, making them eligible for all those big races, hundreds and hundreds of horses competing for time trials, adjusting for factors such as wind and rain and the track conditions, and trying to just gamble and get lucky. Whereas the thoroughbreds, you can run them where they belong, and big purses, and not all that, payment plan. Ante up, keep playing poker. That's the difference. Economically, it's much smarter, I'd say.
Yeah, in New Mexico, it's pretty good. You can pretty much run your horses year round for good purses. Not quite all year, but for most of the year you can. And some places really, really big purses. And in the outside world, you go to Churchill or Oakland, the place that runs straight thoroughbreds, they have every category, wherever your horse fits categorically, there's a place to run them, So the thoroughbred deal is really, really big and has gotten really good. I mean, it's competitive, and and it can pay for itself very easily. And people make a living doing it. Even as an owner, can make a living doing it.
Well, yeah, you've seen the Peacock family and how much they made on this horse. I mean, I don't know how much of this is public knowledge, but didn't they sell half interest in him to a Sheik family?
No, the whole time they found out we were going to Saudi Arabia. We had people calling, "Oh, we want to buy into this horse. Don't worry about the money. They got so much money. Don't worry about it." And they're coming with really stupid offers, so Mr. Peacock wasn't interested. Then the last week, and Kieran McLaughlin, he's the agent for Luis Saez, he called and they talked out a deal with the Sheik, and he sold 30% for 2 races, just for if once the money was made, we could decide not to run the horse, if that was the case. I mean, we could have run in one and decided not to run in the other one, but they basically rented 30% of them for the Saudi Cup and the Dubai World Cup. So
just more like a lease.
Yeah, he took, he took a lot of the gamble off the table and put some money in his pocket, and pretty substantial money. Not what he won, but it was the only way he was going to lose on what he did was if the horse won the race. So if the horse won the race, he wasn't losing. So he made a business decision, and I think if you do it again, I think you do the same decision. But the catch to it was they had to wear the Princess silks over there. And then he's tried to buy the horse back at a huge number, even like a 5% for the U.S. But he wants the Prince wants his silks to be worn in one race in the U.S. And Mr. Peacock hasn't gone through. He says he's in the United States. He's running in the Peacock silk. So they've come with some really big money, and he's turning it down. So kudos to him.
Yeah, at that point, it's really not the money. It's the enjoyment, the thrill. That's what you're looking for. Having that in your own name. I think we all want that. It's amazing. That horse has got a bright future. He's going to make that Peacock family a lot of money if he works out as a stallion too. And then your grooms and yourself, obviously, life-changing money in a lot of ways, right? I mean, you got a lot of people that have had hands on that horse. That just with the purse alone, I mean, you figure $20 million race. I mean, the horse makes himself 10, correct?
That's
and then
right.
so your percentage is $1 million. The jockey's percentage is $1 million. And then the grooms are all going to get a kick out. How's that affected everybody?
Well, they haven't got paid yet. So nobody said a word. Nobody said a word, but they're all working really hard, waiting for it. No.
They're not going to leave you for a while.
Yeah, we got them trapped right now. But yeah, the barn, actually, that's the way this Saudi Arabia set it up, where the barn gets 10%. They put the money in my account, and then I have to just print out everything, what grooms are getting much money, the gallop boys getting this much, the assistants getting this much, and I had to put all that down on paper, which I'm not sure how they'll follow up on it, but trust me, I'm not messing with karma. I'm giving it all away to the barn.
Yeah. Well, I hope somebody's going to have to pay tax on that, right?
Yeah. Well, the way I figured it out with my CPA is it's going to cost me out of my own pocket probably around $60,000, because I got to match the Social Security and everything, because they're going to, you pay them, say you pay a guy $100,000, you got to take out his Social Security, you got to take out his Medicaid.
Medicare,
I gotta match that. So it's going to cost me out of my own pocket pretty good.
Payroll taxes are nasty business.
Yep.
Damn,
so
we have to deal with that all the time, Todd.
I mean,
that's a lot of money.
I had one trainer tell me, I just paid my wife $500,000 out of that. I said, yeah, and karma's going to cut my throat. I said, so the guys that's worked for me, that's been their assistants and gallop boys, and the guys that's broke the horses and people that's been with me, they're going to get a healthy payday. And also the grooms, and they had guys over there helping me too. And like Brad Cox had his exercise rider. He worked Buscador twice for me. So he's getting, he's going to get some money. He don't know it yet, but he's getting money. And the grooms that helped over there.
Wow.
You try to split up $1 million. It's not easy to do, and do it fairly.
Anybody that rubbed the horse, put a saddle on the horse, backed him out of a trailer, he's probably going to
Yeah.
get 10 grand.
Yeah. There's a lot of 10 grands out there.
That's wild. Such a cool story. I mean, life-changing thing. Very proud of you. Very, very excited for what you've done. And, this has got to open up a lot of doors going forward for you guys. So hopefully, Cade and I can get on board with one of these thoroughbreds one day and be involved with one of these big grade 1 winners. Okay. That's my goal. I don't want to sit here in the office the rest of my life.
Yeah. If you can get you a really nice bred grade 1 winner that can go to stud one day, you can.
Yeah.
It turns out to be really good. You can retire on that. Them things getting 200,000 a pop and 200 mares a year. That's pretty good living.
Boy, wouldn't it be the life of luxury?
Be tough to live on that kind of money. I don't know.
I'd be over there rubbing that horse every day he was around.
Yes, sir. Oh, that's great. Good stories here. Todd, I guess you guys have, if anybody's listening to this and wants to get a hold of you, is there a way that you guys have a website, or you just have is it just traditional phone number if anybody wanted to reach out to you?
Yeah, no, I don't. I've never in my career done any advertising. I know at the first of this podcast, you were saying how you're picking up the phone and calling people and it's more word of mouth, I don't, it's hard for me even to accept new clients unless I know them through somebody. If I either know them personally or know them through somebody else, we can, as good as our crew is, the more crew you have, the weaker the chain becomes. So
I hear you.
We try to carry a certain number, and then we don't try to go over that. I mean, there's ways to get around it and do it, but to do it the way I'm comfortable and I feel like I'm giving every client 100%, then there's a certain number I can go to. I don't need 300, 400 horses like some guys, and some guys can do a pretty good job at it, but I'm responsible. I need to have eyes on them most of the time.
Yep. Makes sense. And I appreciate that about you. You don't want to get too big for your own good, because then you start watering down the services. And I think we're very similar in that regard.
I would like to say, make more money, have more horses, but you're definitely it's gonna get watered down. Like right now, it's unbelievable. I've been in good positions and had, say, 5 Gallop boys and only 2 of them that are really good, and the other 3 are just, you got to have somebody. And right now I have 5 Gallop boys and every one of them is good. I mean, it's unbelievable. So how long that'll last, I don't know, but I'm going to take care of them and hopefully but that's an extremely important part of a racing business too, is the guys that get on them every day. And right now that's unbelievably good. And obviously my assistants are well taken care of, and they're very good too. So those are the most important. The grooms are important too, no doubt, when we got good grooms, but I'm just so happy. I've got 5 excellent Gallop boys right now that's just rare.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're the guys that, on them, doing the things they need to do on the racetrack, feeling them out and getting them prepared for their races. So employees set up the whole organization, and you obviously have good ones. Success can attract more success, but you obviously can't be asleep at the wheel. You have to continue to monitor things, take care of business, I say, and not just turn it over and act like you've reached what you wanted to reach and put it on autopilot.
No, there's a lot of, I can only do so much, and I could probably do more, but I also have a life too. That Steve Asmussen's one of the best trainers ever. And I don't know what kind of life he has, because he works and drives and works. And I mean, I don't want that. I mean, he probably has 400 horses in his care. He claims cheap horses for himself. I mean, I love the game and I've been in it my whole life, but this guy's obsessed. I mean, he's something else. I mean, I take my hat off to him 100%, but I don't want that type of life. I like I can handle what I can handle, and I have other things I need to do too and want to do. And so if I'm at 100, 110 horses when the babies first come in, we got them all together, I can handle that. But then once you start getting moved around, you get 2 places is no problem. You start getting in 3 places, I don't know how they do it. And I really don't want to do it. Yeah. You're on the plane half the time. You're missing important things you need to be watching. So yeah, kudos to him and people that can do it. But I have a certain number, that I can handle, and that's about it.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world and going forward. And of course, we expect to see several wins with our horses, Todd. So don't forget about us little guys as you're going back to business. All right, throughout the rest of this year.
Well, it doesn't matter who owns them. When they come in my barn, we feel like we own them. So
that's good.
They all get treated the same, and whoever works them, it'll work itself out.
Yeah.
Who are the best ones will become the best ones, and so forth and so on. So hopefully we can get success to everybody, but it's not personal if your horse isn't fast.
No, it's coming for Buckway Ranch. Okay, just get ready. It's coming. All right, Todd. Thanks for joining us today, and all you listeners out there. I hope you enjoyed that session with Todd. It was a very fascinating story for me, and I know that anybody who has an interest in horse racing will appreciate that. So, once again, thanks for listening today. You guys have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Harnessing Your Wealth with Billy Peterson. Before we declare the race official, please click the follow button so you can be notified when new episodes become available. For more information about today's show, please check out the show notes. Visit our website at www.petersonws.com or give us a call at 801-475-4002. Once again, thank you for listening. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Peterson Wealth Services. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.